MTG Scoundrels, it's in the cardboard. Ladies and gentlemen, scoundrels of all ages, welcome back to another episode of Modern Weekly. Today on the docket, we have rubystorm against Boros Energy. Of course, rubystorm stormed onto the scene here at the beginning of the Modern Horizons 3 format. And really was the deck that everybody was prepped for at the Pro Tour. And thus why we didn't see too many results out of it. Looks like rubystorm going to 5. Playing a mountain, passing. Of course, Boros Energy is still one of the best decks in the format. And one of the favorite decks in the format. And here's a Ragavan after going to 17. A lot of these Boros Energy lists have gone to playing Ocelot instead of Ragavan, but Ragavan's still a good card. Just definitely not as good as it was over the past couple years. Looks like decisions being made. And we're going to start with a Wren's Resolve, revealing a mountain and a Past in Flames. There's an Aether Hub. That'll gain us an energy. Reading the Past in Flames here. Attacking with the Ragavan, getting in for 2, exiling the land, gaining a treasure. And there is an Amped Raptor, gaining 2 more energy. And there's a Phlage, dealing 3 damage and gaining 3 life. Bringing us to 15 to 20. Untapping, playing the land for turn. There is a Ruby Medallion, one of the reasons this deck has made a comeback. And there is Ral, one of the new flip walkers from Modern Horizons 3. And passing the turn. Both here make red spells cost 1 mana less. Now, of course, the Ral, every time you cast a spell, you have to flip a coin, essentially. And if you lose the flip, it deals a damage to you. If you win the flip, you may choose to flip it over to the Planeswalker side. There's a lightning bolt dealing with the Ral. Attacking him for 4. Exiling another land, making a treasure, passing the turn. There's a Dragon Rage Channeler. Another Dragon Rage's Channeler. Looks like Galvanic Discharge on the first one. There's a Manamorphose making 2 mana. Looks like surveilling, leaving it on top. Drawing the card. Reckless Impulse here. Using 1 of the mana floating. Kept it on top, playing the land for turn, fetching. Still got 1 mana floating. Storm count is 5. Deciding to use the 1 mana floating to cast the Wren's Resolve. Surveil. And there's a ritual as well as a Past in Flames. Passing the turn. On end step, looks like we'll be flashing in Ophelia here. And fetching as well. Now some of you may notice we do have the mana counter and the storm counter up there. We're mostly just going to be keeping track of storm when there are a decent amount of spells being cast in a turn. Where it can be pertinent, for instance, when that run of spells was cast there. We definitely kept track of it. Attacking in, Ophelia trigger, flickering the Dragon Rage's channeler here, bringing us to 4-19. And there's a Manamorphose off the top. Deciding whether to cast it here. Looks like deciding to go ahead and cast it. Drawing a card, floating some mana. Casting the Ragavan. Using the last of that mana. To escape the phlage. Bringing us to 1/22. DRC coming back in at end of turn. Starting off with a ritual. Three mana floating. Casting another ritual. Gaining 3 more mana. Both times they're using mountains. And casting the Past in Flames. Flashing back a ritual. Flashing back another ritual. Flashing back a Manamorphose. Drawing a card. Flashing back another Manamorphose. Drawing a card after the Surveil. Unfortunately, a few Surveil triggers being missed here. But Storm is complicated. There is a Reckless Impulse. Surveil trigger. Glimpse the Impossible being put back, Manamorphose, and Mountain being exiled with the Reckless Impulse. Casting a Manamorphose, going up to 9 mana. Surveiling. Drawing a card. Playing the land for turn. Casting the Wren's Resolve. Surveilling. Leaving it on top. Casting the Wren's Resolve. Looks like putting a Wish into the bin. There's another ritual, bringing us back up to 9 mana. Surveil, putting land into the bin. And there is Ral. Dangerous spot here. Casting Glimpse the Impossible. 2 triggers. Flipping the Ral. Managed not to kill themselves here. Storm currently sitting at 14. And proceeding to ultimate the Ral. And cast any of the instants and sorceries for free. There are 2 rituals being cast. A Manamorphose being cast. Drawing a card off a Manamorphose. Casting a Wren's Resolve. Casting another Wren's Resolve. Mana not being spent on these thanks to the Ral Ultimate. And now just counting the rest of the spells out here. Plenty of mana in the pool. And there was a wish that got mulled over as well, or surveilled, I should say, to finish it up. And Boros will scoop it up as well. Game 1 going to Rubystorm. Thank you all so much for watching us here at MTG Scoundrels. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe, be a friend, tell a friend. Happy you guys have joined us here. This is the first time we've had Rubystorm on the channel. Boros Energy, of course, being a mainstay since MH3 has been released. Rubystorm probably bringing in a little bit of graveyard hate of sorts that isn't targeted to them, would be my guess. Either that or a couple more removal spells. Phlage is a little bit difficult for them to deal with. And of course, Boros Energy here, probably bringing in a certain amount of Storm hate cards. Now, if you enjoy either of these decks and are looking to build them, definitely check the description below, where you can find deck lists as well as timestamps for the individual games. And if you're interested in tokens, definitely check out our friends over at Arcane Artistry. They make wonderful stained glass food, treasure, and clue tokens. Actually, if you line them up, they do make a panoramic of sorts, so definitely check it out. High quality tokens in the stained glass style from our friends over at Arcane Artistry. Alright, both players looking to see if they're keeping. Looks like... Yep, looks like they probably will both either be going to 6 or going to 5 here. Both players on 6. And here we go into game 2, starting with an Aether Hub. Playing a Ragavan and passing the turn. Scalding Tarn and passing. There is a Plains into a Guide of Souls. Looks like before combat, the Storm player here is killing the Ragavan. We will see that lightning bolt here shortly. There it is. Untapping and drawing. Another Scalding Tarn. Fetching, going down to 18. And there is a Ruby Medallion. Making red spells cost 1 less. Aether Hub, making an energy, using the energy. Casting an Amped Raptor. Gaining a life, going to 21. Gaining an energy off of the Amped Raptor entering, and 2 energy off the Amped Raptor being cast, or ETB, excuse me. And there's a phlage. That is the card you would like to hit off Amptraptor if you have the energy. Gaining a life. And then bolting your opponent. Or should I say lightning helixing your opponent. Bringing us to 15 to 25. Attacking in. Bringing us to 14 to 25 and passing the turn. There is a Ral. I guess if you're going to start going off, this is the way to do it. There's a ritual, making 3 mana. Ral trigger. Taking a damage off of Ral. Bring us to 13. There's a Reckless Impulse. Ral trigger. No damage. And choosing not to flip it. Looks like we have another ritual here. Casting it, going up to 4 mana. Ral trigger. Choosing not to flip, taking 0 damage. Going down to 3 mana in the pool, casting the Dragon Rage's Channeler. Going to 2 mana in the pool, casting the Reckless Impulse. 2 triggers. Surveilling. Rolling for Ral. Taking a damage. Reckless Impulse resolving here. Playing the land for turn. Using 2 mana to cast the Past in Flames. Still has 1 mana open off of the mountain just played. No damage being taken. So this is where they can start to storm off. However, here, just wanting everyone to notice that mountain does need to be tapped in this instance to make that 3 mana. Surveilling a land away. Ral triggering. Casting another ritual. This of the Desperate variety. Going up to 5 mana in the pool. Surveilling. Ral trigger, taking a damage. Casting the Reckless Impulse. Taking a damage. Not surveilling this time. Grand deck is hard to play. Lots of things going on. So that mountain is now being tapped. We are in fact going to take the mana out of the pool, however, being that there was plenty. Should have been tapped earlier. Casting another ritual. This of the Pyretic variety. Surveilling, keeping it on top. Ral trigger, taking a damage. Casting another Reckless Impulse. Surveilling. Dumping the land. Taking a damage off the Ral. Casting the lightning bolt to kill the Guide of Souls. Putting the medallion in the bin. Triggering Ral. This time winning the flip and flipping Ral. With Storm being at 13. Then ultimating Ral here. And looks like there's a couple copies of Wish in there, some Manamorphoses. Plenty to work with. Casting the Wishes, casting the Manamorphose. Surveil trigger, missed a couple other Surveils unfortunately, but that's alright. Drawing that card. Off the Manamorphose. Casting the Reckless Impulse, surveilling, casting the Ren's Resolve, surveilling, bring us to Storm of 18, and there is Reckless Impulse to bring us to a Storm of 19. And they'll scoop it up from there, being that 2 wishes were in fact cast. And that'll do it. Both games going to Rubystorm. Thank you all so much for watching us here at MTG Scoundrels. If you enjoy our content, please be a friend, tell a friend, like, and subscribe. And we will see you all next week.